Casey sat at a table in the restaurant, as if behind the glass of an aquarium, and watched other people's lives. There was laughter all around, but she was the only one who felt awkward. As the evening drew to a close, Casey indifferently dialed the guardian's number, but they didn't answer right away. She would have to drive herself. Claire's father turned out to be a good man, unlike his daughter. So he offered her a ride. And so they were in the car, Claire, her best friend Marcia, chatty, easy, noisy, in the back seat, and Casey in the front seat, strapped in not only by her seatbelt but by a sense of perpetual foreignness. As she sat in the car, there was a loud pop of the trunk and another man climbed into the car. The girls asked what he was doing here, but the man didn't say anything, just knocked them out. When consciousness returned, she felt the cold floor and the dim light. Claire was shivering, hugging Marcia. No one realized where they were. Then the door creaked open. A man entered, neat, glasses, with a tense, fixed stare. He silently took Marcia's hand and led her away. Meanwhile, back at the clinic, Karen, the therapist, opened her computer. Among her patients' records was one new name, Barry. And in the basement where the girls were being held, Claire was desperately trying to come up with a plan to escape from here. But they didn't know how to counter it, so they decided to look for his weak spot. A polite but firm knock sounded at Dr. Karen's clinic. A man in bonnet and loose coat entered with grace, like an artist at his own exhibition. Barry glowed, he was in good spirits. Yet he remained cautious. When she tried to talk about his work, he turned the conversation to another subject. And the girls in their confinement continued to look for a way out. They peeked cautiously through the door and saw a woman's foot. They held their breath, and after a few seconds the door opened. Red turtleneck, long skirt, confident posture, slight tilt of the head, but it was him. The girls were shocked, but the lady assured them in a soft voice that there was nothing to worry about. Meanwhile, Dr. Karen, frowning her eyebrows, was discussing with her colleague about a problem that was keeping her busy. A patient with dissociative identity disorder. But the colleague was skeptical of what she was saying. In the windowless room, Claire and Marcia realized a terrible truth. Dennis was talking to an imaginary interlocutor. This time their kidnapper appeared, dressed in a yellow windbreaker and acting like a child. "I'm Hedwig," he said with childlike delight. He warned them that someone was coming. The girls realized that the kidnapper had different identities. Casey quickly realized that Hedwig, unlike the others, was naive. He could be swayed to his side. She spoke softly, almost motherly, trying to convince him to let them go. Hedwig froze. Then, narrowing his eyes suspiciously, silently walked out, closing the door. After he left, the girls began to look for a weak spot in the ceiling and to tear it with their heels. But at that moment Hedwig returned. In the blink of an eye, he turned back into Dennis. Claire screamed, but at the last moment she managed to climb onto the ceiling. She ran through the narrow space, with Dennis following her like a shadow below. She hid in a locker. But he found her and locked her in another room. Karen meets with her patient again. Karen watches as he carefully places his hands on the table, as if trying on a foreign role. She immediately guesses that this is not Barry, but someone else. There is someone else lurking inside Barry. Perhaps Dennis. Back at his house, he invites the girls over for dinner. And claims they're good girls, unlike Claire. Patricia sets the plates neatly on the table. She is sure that both captives deserve to eat, unlike Claire, who is too stubborn. While the hostess is absorbed in her rituals, Marcia decides not to delay. Her fingers clutch the heavy stool, and a moment later there is a rumbling sound. The plan was good, but it failed. Dennis returns and drags Marcia into the other room, punishing her for her insolence. Casey wakes up feeling the warmth of someone else's breath behind her back. Hedwig, the youngest of them, hugs her. He begins to tell her about some kind of beast. Casey tries to elicit details, but Hedwig is easily distracted. Suddenly his thoughts are elsewhere, and he asks her for a kiss with childlike delight. Casey finds a way to take advantage of his gullibility. She suggests they go to his room and dance. He agrees, but his delight doesn't last long. Ahead of him is a meeting with Dr. Karen. At the desk in her office, Dennis clenches his hands into fists. She looks him straight in the eye, building a dialogue. The woman makes it clear that if he doesn't reveal himself, the other personalities will eventually just consume him. Later, Hedwig leads Casey to his room, striding confidently down the hallway. When the door closes behind them, he turns on the music and begins a mad dance. His movements are abrupt, chaotic, and devoid of logic. He looks like a lost child in an adult's body. Casey pretends to watch with interest, but her gaze involuntarily slides around the room. There is a window painted on the wall. Afterward, he escorts Casey to her room. Meanwhile, Dr. Karen decides to take a chance. She goes to Dennis' house, hoping to get more information, but things don't go according to plan. He brings her to Barry's room and tells her a familiar story about Kevin and his childhood traumas. In the middle of the conversation, Karen excuses herself to go to the bathroom. As she makes her way down the hallway, she finds one of the prisoners. But at that moment, Dennis appears and knocks him out. After that, he heads to the flower store to buy a bouquet. As he drives home, Casey breaks into a room with a computer. One by one, the video files revealed to her a chaotic theater of personalities. Barry, Hedwig, Patricia, Dennis, there were 23 of them, all living in the same body. But there was another among them, unknown but most dangerous. At that moment it began to change. Muscles ballooned, bones lengthened, skin stretched. The beast had awakened. It was no longer a man, but a monster, a nightmare incarnate. Karen awoke to someone squeezing her body. She snatched up the knife and, struggling to keep her balance, struck. The blade that should have pierced the flesh shattered into splinters. The creature didn't even flinch. Then there was a crunch, and Karen's world was plunged into darkness. In the meantime, Casey had found the key and decided to save the girls. She found Marcia's room, but it was too late. The blood on the floor spoke for her. Claire was still alive, but not for long. The monster dragged her into the darkness, and then there was a crunch of bones. She noticed a piece of paper scribbled in nervous letters. State his name. Kevin Wendell Crumb. Her hands trembled, but she repeated the name over and over until the monster chasing her stopped. The giant figure twitched, as if an internal struggle was taking place within it. Kevin looked around, not realizing where he was. His hands were shaking, he couldn't remember anything. And when he realized what his man had done, there was an abyss of pain in his eyes. He raised his eyes to Casey and began to beg her to kill him. She rushed to the closet where the gun lay. In the same instant, the identity changed again. She frantically searched for ammunition, and the tearing breath of the beast could already be heard behind her. Casey, loading her weapon, rushed away from it. The beast burst through the cage. Casey takes aim. Bullets slam into the monster's body, but it doesn't fall. It slowly raises its head, its eyes burning with rage. In a moment, it will tear her to shreds. But then it freezes. It sees the scars on its body. The monster exhales and takes a step back. He won't hurt her. She too has been through something horrible. Later, Casey is found. A shaken policeman leads her out of the gloomy corridors, and the latest news is already on TV. 3 brutal murders in the basement of the zoo. Suspect, Kevin Wendell Crumb. The world would no longer be able to turn a blind eye. Now everyone knew, the human mind is capable of the impossible. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. See you soon.